Well, welcome to Hillbilly Shipwright. This is where we've been building this Become a Shipwright of Old series by Model Shipways, which you can get at Model Expo online. We are on our second boat, which is the Norwegian Sailing Pram. And we are at step 49, lashing the sail. And it should be step 50 because they have two steps 48s, which we discovered in the last video. Oar locks, 48. Making the lug sail, 48. So I can count better than that. So, yeah. So lashing the sail. So let's. Oh yeah, this is part 13. Let's hope everything goes well, even though it's that odd number. So I guess we'll see. Let's jump down to the bench and start putting our sailboat together. Okay, so we are at 49, lashing the sail. There's also another 49, lacing. So really these should be 50 and 51. So anyway, you know, it is what it is, I guess. Lashings are needed to tie the upper corners of the sail to the gaff. There are different ways to do this. Use the 0.3 millimeters line supplied. The simplest way is as follows. So before we get into all that, we'll take a quick look at our lines that they provide us here. So there are 3 different sizes, and it becomes evident who is who as you look at it here. This is the 0.3 millimeter, and then we have our 0.5, and then we have our 0.7 millimeter lines. So we need to make sure we got our lines. I don't know that we have a whole lot of that, but hopefully we do, because I don't really want to change the color of the line, you know, halfway through the rigging. Now we're going to need our gaff, which we have here. And I'm not so sure that the holes that they told us to drill in it are going to be big enough to do what we need to do. So we may have to drill those out a little bit bigger. And we also have our boom. And of course we have our sail that we built up in the last video. And then to do our rigging, we do have a block, which we're gonna have to, I mean, you can use it just like it is, but it's a bit crude. Normally blocks are kind of rounded. And then there's a piece of copper wire to go with the block to make the metal bracket that goes around it there with the eyelet. So we'll have to do that. And then we've got our clips for all of our mast stays. So I have already polished these up. I did these at the same time that I was polishing up and cleaning up the oar locks, which are made out of the same metal. So those are ready to go. And I have a pair of scissors. We got some PVA glue, and I also have these right here. I've seen other modelers use them, and I thought we'd try them. So these are threading needles. Let me just get one out here. That are split. So instead of trying to thread the eye in a needle, these are split, and you just stick the thread into the split, and then you can use that to pass it through the sail, or I guess it'll fit there. Yeah. And thread that way. This, I think, is going to be much easier than the way they have told us to do it in the instructions, which is to take the thread, put some glue on it, you know, some watered down PVA glue, let it dry, and then you cut it at an angle. and kind of make a needle on the end of it. I mean, it works, but you do have to do a lot of waiting and all that for it to dry. And yeah, well, we're just going to use these. Hopefully that will solve that little problem there for us. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have to do, pass one end of an 8-inch length of line through the hole on the peak corner of the sail. So that's the peak corner right there. Make 2 half hitches and dab on dilute white glue to set this. Take a smear of white glue and roll it into the other end between your fingers to stiffen it. That's the needly part that we were talking about. Once the glue is dry, trim any line past the knot off. Thread the other end of the line through the hole in the outer end of the gaff. And you can see here how it is. So the outer end of the gaff is going to be this hole, which is the furthest from our loop that our halyard goes on. So that's way out here. And I am kind of debating, so anyway, that's going to go there, like so. But I am kind of debating so whether or not it would be a good idea to go ahead and put our halyard line on. Of course, that's going to get in our way, so I guess we'll just leave it off. We'll deal with it when we get to it. Okay, and then they pass the thread loosely 2 or 3 times through the peak corner hole of the sail and gaff. I don't know how many passes we're going to get in that. We should probably test it. All right, so I just spent 5 minutes untangling this thread. We're going to make sure we lay that off to the side where it's not going to be a problem. So I am going to use, if I can pick it up, where's my tweezers? Here we go. Our threading needle, our split needle. Where's the fuzzy end? I'll stick the fuzzy end in here. So there we go. So the question is, can I pass this twice through this hole? That is the question. Because if I can't, I'm going to have to make the hole larger. There's one pass. Hold the line. Okay, it's tight, but it'll go. All right, so I guess we're all right. So they tell us to use an 8-inch length. I'm going to pass that through right there. Now we're supposed to do 2 half hitches, which is basically just tying a knot. I don't really see it there, but I mean, we have to secure the end of the line there. I don't know. I do not know. So what we're going to do, I will tie 2 half hitches. There's one. I don't know if they intend us to knot this, but this is not a 2 half hitch knot is not going to secure this line. well enough. In the hole just by itself. So I'm going to go this route. Now you can use CA glue or whatever you want. I am going to use the PVA glue. CA glue tends to darken. If I can get it out. There it comes. Need to clean that tip. Yeah, it tends to darken the thread. Where PVA glue doesn't. Gonna have to let that set a bit. It's not as tight as I want it though. Okay. So the way I see this happening, I'm going to pass it through and around this side. I'm going to go through the back or through the sail like so. We just pull this up where it needs to be. I really feel like a seamstress now. Now they say take 2 or 3 passes. Here's the problem. Because if you look, we have to make sure that this loop stays up for our halyard, which means we are not, if we're passing through this hole, we're not really it's not going to remain centered. So I'm going to go back through the hole here in the staff and loop around the opposite side like that. See how much trouble I'm getting into here. Then we're going to go back through the exit side of the sail like that. That way we've got the thread on both sides. You see what I'm saying there? It's kind of where I'm going with this. I don't know if I can make another pass or two there. I will attempt it. Getting tight. No. All right, I kind of expected that. We need to make the hole bigger in order for me to make this work. The way I need it, the way I need it to work. So I'm going to unthread this and we're going to start again after I drill this hole out. Okay, so I drilled these out to a 0.8 millimeter. I think originally they're supposed to be like a number 70 or a number 65, something like that. And it's just not big enough to do, you know, 2 passes or 4 passes. So it's just not going to work. You're just going to have to drill those out a little bit. And that's not a big deal. What is a big deal, however, is how to tie this thing. And I just realized that you're not going to be able to see how I am tying it. So we're going to use a whiteboard here. So let this be the end, just like viewing like this, okay? And then we would have the sail underneath. So that would be the cloth. And we've got a hole here. And we have a hole here. So now we have already gone through this once and tied a knot. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to pass this up and around. We're going to go through the hole, back up through, and then back. You see where we're going here? So that would be 1 to either side, and then we will attempt to do it again and tie it off. I don't know what that looks like, but that's the way I'm going to do it, because what I want is I don't want all of our thread just on one side. You know, it needs to be on both sides. Otherwise, it's going to turn this way. I don't know why the holes aren't crossways instead of vertical, but that's what we got, and that's how we're doing it. So am I right in doing it that way? Well, I don't know. I don't know. But it's definitely the way I'm going to do it. I just think it's going to give us a better look in the end, so it's kind of, it's your model. Do it your way. So make sure I'm back up where I need to be. I'm going to start straight up through like so. Come through the sail. Like so. Back up through the middle. Now we're going to need to pull it tight here. Get everything down where it's supposed to go. So they do show it being I mean, here's the other thing that we got to deal with. On the wrong side of my knot there. Get it over there. There we go. So the other thing we got to deal with is how far off this hole is down here. So you can't really pull it up absolutely tight. I'll tell you what I think will help. I think if we take some masking tape and tape the sail to the gaff, that'll set that distance for us. That's probably the best way to do that. I'm going to do that. Yeah, see that's much better. Everything's not flopping around on us. So where am I at here? Okay, I want to pass back through this side. So now I need to make sure that everything is pulled just like it's supposed to be. Trying to figure out who's who here. Ah, there we go. I've lost my thread. Is that the one? No. I've confused myself. We'll get it sorted. Get it to look like something, I guess. Need to go back through this way. So that I can end up on this side. Just like so. Okay. That's all I can do. All right, we're going to do one more pass here. And now we're going to loop it around the gaff. If I can hold on to it. There's some sailor out there losing his absolute mind over what I'm doing. All right, we're going to make us 3 wraps there. Now all I got to do is tie it off. Now I left the tail on our very first knot to give me something to tie it to. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to tie it right there. Okay, so I will tell you that I have switched to medium CA glue. So, it's just easier than using the white glue, because the white glue takes too long to dry for me, and I kind of want to get things moving here. So I did the other end of the gaff the same way. Now it's going to look different because there is a different amount of space there, but that's okay. I think it looks okay. Kind of looks like it's supposed to be there. And now I'm starting to do this lashing here. So the way I figured it out, I'm gonna have my running stitch. I know I sound like a seamstress. My running stitch off on the right side of it there. So the way I'm doing that is I'm going in on that side, just like so. I'm going to come around the gaff, grab my needle like that, and we can just pull it, get it to run exactly where we want it to go. See, that's easy. What you don't want it to do is you don't want it to unravel on you while you're doing the next hitch. So this is really just a half hitch right here. Put a little bit of CA glue on it right there. That'll grab it. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit the next one. Pull it. Slip underneath it there. Get it right where we want it. And that is so much nicer and neater and easier, I think. Whoops. Slipped out from underneath my thumb. Now this is a nylon type cord. It's a little bit more difficult to use than cotton, because when you tie a knot in it, it wants to slip. And yeah, I mean, you can replace this with the cotton stuff, but it came in a kit. I'm going to use it, and just by using the CA glue instead of the white glue, because white glue does not work well, or PVA glue doesn't work well on nylon. Obviously, obviously, I am not much with needle and thread. Somebody out there is hollering right now, you know, I could have had that done already. And you, sir, are a mastermind. All right, so I'm going to finish this lashing. When we get to the end, I'm just going to go opposite side of where we've tied this, tied our sail up on the corner eyelet, and do a double hitch and cement it and be done with it. I think I glued my thumb. That's going well. Okay, so I never claimed to be good at rigging, but I think we'll get by with it. So the way I finished it off here, I came up, I made another loop, and then I tied it here, just past the lashing for the corner of the sail there, and it looks good. I like that. Now I didn't put it across the top because we have our loop there for our halyard, which I think is next. I think that's next. Coincidentally, when finishing off the lacing on our gaff, they do tell us things like when using nylon line, wetting it will help tame it. Also use dilute white glue on it once everything is snugged up. Alternatively, buy a reel of cotton thread. This may be easier to work with. Again, a little water on the line is your friend. Now, I didn't use any water, and I definitely am not using the diluted white glue. I am using the medium CA glue because it allows me to actually do the rigging and not have to wait for things to dry. So, but I found it interesting that they tell us, you're probably going to need some cotton thread. Now, just to show you, after tying the gaff on to the sail and doing the lashing, this is what we have left of our 0.3 millimeter thread or line. And that's not a lot because we still have a lot of things to do. Primarily, we're going to have to lash the corners of the bottom of the sail there to the boom. So I think I've got just enough line to get that done. And after that, we are out of the 0.3 millimeter line. So I'm gonna switch over to using this other polyester line here, and it's just, you know, seamstress thread. Slightly, if I can pick it back up, slightly different color. But we're going to use this for seizing our other lines and stuff, because there's just not going to be enough of this left to go around. But I do want all the lashings and everything on our sail to be the same color. So there's that. In retrospect, I guess, I should have just went with this because it didn't really look like there was enough line to get everything done anyway. So we tried, but now we know. So with that done, the next part we have here is 50, which is actually probably 52, step 52. But anyway, it's the gaff halyard. A halyard is literally the haul yard. This is the line that raises the gaff. It attaches to the loop on the gaff using about a 24-inch actual length of the 0.5 millimeter line for this. Pass one end of the line through the gaff loop and secure it with a couple of half hitches fixed with dilute white glue. Of course, we're not going to be using diluted white glue, but I think what we're going to do though is we're going to seize that line instead of just doing the two half hitches, because it kind of looks like a couple of knots right on top there. So I need to get, they say 24 inches. I think 24 inches is a lot, but let's hope we don't run out of this. And that's the thing when you're doing rigging and everything, you know, you just kind of go with what you think you need, I guess. So there's that. So now we're going to pass this through our loop. I think it'll fit. Need to give it a little twist there. There we go. Just like so. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is, instead of just tying two half hitches there, I'm actually going to seize the line. I'm going to have to figure out how to do this. Let me figure out how I'm going to do that. I need to raise this up off of our workbench. I need to kind of secure it in place so I'm not dragging it around while I'm trying to tie something. So let me figure this out real quick. Okay, so what I did was I elevated it on these little wooden blocks here Good to have little wooden blocks and stuff around your workbench. So now I just need to pull this line up together somehow here. Kind of pinch it together here. Trying to keep from wasting a whole lot. If I got it. Nope, I missed it. Ha! That didn't work out, did it? Oh, that's not working. Try again. A little bit harder to do now that I've got it secured to the bench, but all right. Enough of that. A little bit of medium CA glue here. Should have started off with that. For some reason, this line is not conducive to handling it very well there. All right, I'm gonna let that dry just a little bit here. All right, so it's dry. With a little bit of CA glue, we can take and kind of cut it at an angle here. Whoops. I didn't cut quite the way I intended it to. Tried to make a little point on it there. At any rate, that should be enough for us to be able to get it to thread up through there without fraying everything. I think my loop is a little bit too far down in there. All right, so we got that. Now what I need to do, I need to grab it. I need both pieces. Those are not working good for me. Try a different pair of tweezers here. Those don't want to work either. I just need to hold it good enough. Let's see. The problem is the tweezers are just grabbing one line. So if I grab it from both sides, maybe I'll be okay. All right. I would like to elevate that. So that you can see what I'm doing. All right, this is going to get tedious. So we're going to need a length of... So I'm going to do the seizing here to show you how I intend to do the other opportunities to seize lines. That way. Why am I having a hard time here? I know, it's because the camera's rolling. So you get you a length here of thread. I'm going to tie a knot, a half hitch. If I get it around. There we go. I'll pull it up there. I need to slide down closer. About like that. Okay. So we got our half hitch in. Now what we're going to do, we're going to pass the thread underneath. I'm sorry, the line. Like so. I'm going to pass the other one, the other tail, to the opposite side. Like so. I can pick it back up. And we're going to tie another half hitch here. Right down next to the first half hitch. Like that. Sort of like that. Push it down. Maybe we'll go for a third round wrap there. Maybe asking for trouble. You can see, you have to learn how to use tweezers as your fingers. Oops, lost it. There it goes. Okay. That looks pretty decent. If you can see that. Move the camera around there. So that's kind of what we have going on there. You see, I need some more CA glue. And we're going to secure it in place. Just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and seize it one more time just above it there. So I'm going to take another piece of thread. We're going to do the exact same thing just above it. And then we'll trim everything off. Okay, so I got it seized and I have taken it off the blocks there. Like an old jalopy up on the blocks. So we need to trim off the excess here. Making sure that we're not getting into our line. that would be tragic. Okay. So next up, we need to trim off the excess of our halyard here. I'm going to come down. I'm going to be very careful here. And of course the scissors, there we go. Just like so. Not perfection, but this is pretty much the same method that we're going to use to seize all of our lines. So we've got this one done. So what I need to do is I need to keep this from getting tangled. So we are going to coil it. Now I did go ahead and put CA glue on the other end so it doesn't come apart on us. So now that I got that, I'm going to take some tape and just put it on our line to hold everything together so I'm not inadvertently doing something that I shouldn't do. All right, so that's our halyard, and that's on. So next is the downhaul line. So the downhaul keeps the inner end of the boom from raising up the mast. Well, again, we're going to use a 0.5 millimeter line, make a knot in one end large enough to stop it from slipping through the hole nearest to the gooseneck jaws. Stiffen the other end of the thread, to thread the line through from above. Glue the knotted end to the top of the gooseneck. Leave the other end long for now. Now, they do not tell us how long is, but that's kind of what it looks like. All right. So first thing I need to do is get this out of the way. I'll just do that off camera. Okay, so here we go. This is the boom. This is the top side of the boom. That's the bottom where the loops are. So with the top side up, I'm just going to thread it up through the bottom there because I've already put some CA glue on it there to make it easier. They want us to tie 2 half hitches here. We want the knot to be the size that it won't slip back through the hole. I think 1 half hitch is probably going to do it. Yeah, we'll put 2. So the next half hitch, we're going to want it to be over top of the current one. That way we've got a larger surface area. Don't want them to be next to each other. I want them to be over top, one over the other. That appears to be about as good. That did not work out right. What have we got? That doesn't look good. Let's try again. Let's go a 2 once around, twice around. There we go. That's much better. Looks the part. So what am I going to do if I run out of thread or line or rope or whatever? I guess I'll have to go shopping. So we'll put some CA glue here on it, and we're going to pull it down through the hole. Well, not through the hole, to the hole. Pulling it through the hole would be the opposite of the effect that we really want to get. All right, that looks good. And I need a sharper pair of scissors. Maybe these will do. Well, it sort of did. I'm having trouble getting that last little bit right there. There we go. Okay, so if we look in the book, this is the length that they've got there. They're having us put the downhaul line on before we lash it. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. We're about to find out. So that looks like about the length that they have there. I got some CA glue here somewhere. There we go. I'm going to put some CA glue on the line where I'm going to cut it. That way it's not unraveling, and then I'll just go ahead and cut this off. Okay, so with that done, next up is 52 or 54, whatever it is. We got our tack and clue lashings. The lower corners of the sails need to be attached to the boom. First attach lengths of 0.3 millimeter line, and that's the one we don't have very much of. To the lower corners of the sail, as you did for the upper ones. First attach the tack line. This is the inner corner of the sail nearest the mast. Pass the line through the hole between the gooseneck and the boom. Pass it through twice and tie it off with a couple of half hitches. Okay, so what they're talking about is we have this hole here, and that is where we're going to lash that down. And it needs to be on the top of the boom. So we will go ahead. I'll go ahead and do that. I mean, it's just the same as we did kind of up here. We're just going to pass it through a couple of times and tie it off. So we will go ahead and do that. Get that out of the way. Now, the only thing is that it needs to be right down on top of our boom. As you can see there, you don't want any gaps there. Just cinch it up really close. All right, couple of things. It's easier to tie something up if things aren't kind of flapping around on you. So I use a piece of masking tape here, and I line the boom with the tack. The tack lashing here, which is up next to the mast. And then as I was tying, I was running into trouble with my downhaul. It was in the way, so I coiled it up and just use masking tape and stuck it to the sail. Same thing with the halyard there. It's easier if you don't have a bunch of loose line tangling everything up. So next, kind of have a little issue here. Zoom out. There we go. And that is, I don't think it's a problem. I mean, we've gone too far for it to be a problem. We're going to have to work around it. And what I'm referring to here is the length of the boom. It's different on our model than versus their pictures here, because they show the cleat here for the clew to be lashed out to the cleat, and ours doesn't look like that at all. So either our boom's too long or our sail is too narrow, or whichever way you want to look at it. But it's not going to affect too much, I don't think. So what we're going to do, I need to tie this line off. I'm going to tie it to the boom. You could tie it to the sail, I guess. But I think we're going to get a better look if we just tie it here. And we don't have very much line left. So I want this to be tied off and high. I'm going to put the knot on top if I don't pull it off there. I'm going to put it up on top here. And of course it wants to slip on me. So back to the CA glue here. I'm going to put me a little dab there. Well, that did not work out the way I had intended it to. I need as much line as I can get here. I need it to be up right there. Still some CA glue on that line. So the problem's going to be, I need a double hitch here before my CA glue dries to the point to where the line won't bend. There we go. And of course that does not want to stay. I got some CA glue here somewhere. There it is. To put some. I think my glue's drying up. Gonna have to get me some fresh CA glue there. All right, so that's cinched up, which is good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and thread this. Can't see what I'm doing. I'm going to go once around. In retrospect, now that I've already CA glued that in place, maybe it would have been better if I had put the knot on the bottom. Okay, come on. I need this to be aft of the cleat. Of course, it does not want to stay aft of the cleat. There we go. I don't really want to use more CA glue right there, but I guess I need to because the line is not staying in place. Of course. I'm gonna get it snug. Don't particularly like using CA glue like this because it does change the color of the line. There we go. So that should grab. It'll make it easier for me to make one more pass. Like so. So you need to go ahead and make that pass before the CA glue soaks down into the thread there. All right, so the next thing we got to do is we got to tie this off. We got to make a figure 8 around our cleat. And I'm almost positive you can't see what I'm doing. You're going to wrap twice around like so. And now we need to cinch it off. This is going to get difficult. The way you do it, oops. Well, I just lost everything. So we're going to do it again, obviously. And now I'm going to put a dab of CA glue here, right where the line crosses over. That way everything doesn't come undone again. Like that. Tedious. Okay. I kind of need that to set up for us a little bit there. So, you know, this is probably for me, the tedious part of this build. Is trying to get the rigging done. Now, I'm probably too close to the camera. All right, so we got to cinch it off. And the way you do that, you have to make a loop where the line passes under the loop, like so. And then we're going to pass it just like. Is not behaving correctly. Didn't really expect it to, did we? Get all this out of the way here. So my rigging's a mess. Come on. Oh, almost got it. Little loop, just backwards, and pull it like that. You want to capture your line underneath. I don't know if you can see that, how it's captured underneath, but that's how you end your tie around the cleat. Now, I'm not sure if we're supposed to leave some line dangling or not. At any rate, that's in there. Don't need my needle anymore. For this anyway. We'll set that aside. And I need to trim off this excess here. So there it is, for better or worse. Now we don't need this masking tape here anymore. Take that off. Now if you're going to put the model back in the box before you finish it and you don't know when you're going to get back to it, don't leave masking tape on your parts, because the sticky stuff can kind of transfer onto the items and leave a spot. You don't want that. Okay, so there's that. And we'll set that aside and let our CA glue tack up. And you do just make sure that you've got it down as tight as you can get it onto the boom there. Well, that's what I'm going with. Okay, so a real quick note. I've been reading through the instructions, and the rest of the rigging is going to be done with the 0.7 millimeter line, and that is rather large. So, one of the things I had to do, I had to drill this hole out in the end of our boom, and now's a good time to do it, because this line is not going to fit through the hole that they told us to drill in it there. So I drilled it out to 1.1 millimeters. Now, coincidentally, you're going to have to do the same thing on the knees on the boat. And that's going to be these holes right here on these half knees on the stern transom. Otherwise, this is not going to fit. And it just barely does. I think we can get that through. So, something to look out for. Make sure that you read ahead, you know, to kind of alleviate. I mean, once we get the sail up and everything, that would be hard to drill. And it'd be even harder to drill the boom once we actually hoist the sails. So, we need to do that now. So, with that out of the way, move my sail. Okay, we're going to do the Traveler, and that's the block. That's this block here. As you can see, they tell us that you can refine it, and we're going to refine it because it doesn't quite look right. One side's actually, it's all right. Still going to refine it. So in order to do that, we need to do some sanding. Yeah, here we go. Oh, and we will check and make sure that our line will go in. Need to open that hole a little bit, but it will thread through the block. So I'm going to round it off. Sanding it down here, getting rid of these rough edges, or straight edges rather. It's supposed to be more well, like you see in the picture here. It's supposed to be like that. So I'm going to try to get mine to look like that. So one of the things we need to do to our block is to kind of clear this little pathway here without cutting ourselves. I mean, they had a really fine trough there to begin with, but with the thickness of this line, we don't want the line just coming out and hitting a sharp edge, and then then it's going to kind of stick up instead of trail through, which is kind of what we're going for here, to make it look like it's going around a sheave or pulley inside the block there. So if we don't remove that sharp edge, we're not going to get that nice trailing out kind of look. Get it threaded through there. Yeah, see, that's what we're going for. You can imagine if the hole is sharp all the way around, then you're going to get that. And you don't want that. You want that. That versus that. But that's the look you're going for. So you need to refine that exit on both sides of the block so it has a nice smooth turn and not a sharp, not trying to make a 90-degree turn, because otherwise it's just not gonna look right. I mean, you can get it rigged, but it's not gonna look right. So here's where you need a good grip so as to not lose your part while you're working on this. Okay, so for our next trick, when it comes to our block, take a length of soft copper wire, shape a loop in it, as in the photograph, pass the two ends around the block and twist them tight, trim off the excess wire. That's what we're supposed to end up with. So our loop is in line with the block. It's not crossways, so that's what we're going to do. So this is a number 48 drill bit, which I have deemed sufficient for our block. Oh, is it going to look too big? I'm thinking out loud. I think it's too much. Let me get a different drill bit. There we go. That's a number 51. I think that's more in scale with what we need to do. All right, so we're going to start in the middle of our wire. This is all the wire I've got left out of the kit. So we're using the drill bit as a bending mandrel. I'm not doing too good, am I? Already. Well, it'll have to work. I'm going to bend it around. Make it as tight as I can. You're going to need pliers for this. I think I got enough wire. Yeah, I got plenty of wire there. I'm going to start my twist. Well, actually, it's pretty soft. Should be able to complete it. There we go. So there's my twist. So now I got to get the wire. I need the loop standing center. Well, not center of the wire, but you know, more vertical. We can make an adjustment later. Okay, so we're going to take our block, and you see where the hole is. That needs to be down next to our loop. Oof. Maybe I'll give it a little helping bend here. Now you don't want to put the block in upside down, or whichever way. You need to keep the loop in the middle. Oh, that looks terrible. I'm opening up my my actual eyelet here that we're making on the block there. Am I whispering to myself again? So, this is harder than it looks. Okay, so I need to pass these two around one another. Give it a twist. I'm going to snug it up. Like that. Well, that didn't come out. That didn't come out too bad. Careful what I say. Well, I guess I'll have to live with that. That'll be all right. All right, so now we need to trim it off. Need my wire cutters for that. So hopefully I have enough holding it together. That kind of looks like that's what it is. I'm gonna kind of round it off a little bit there. Get rid of those sharp edges. There it is. We can live with that. Okay, so the Traveler line is of heavier rope. Thread a length of 0.7 millimeter line down through one hole in the stern transom knee on one side. Tie a knot in the end so that it will not pull through. Thread the other end through the loop in the block before taking the line down through the hole on the other side. Knot it so that there is some slack in the line. When taut, it should easily clear the tiller. Keep off excess line. Oh, cut off. Cut off excess line below the knees on both sides. Photograph next column. This is kind of what we're doing, or trying to do. Yeah. So, I'm going to need a boat and a block. So I cut off a section of that thick line there. And like I mentioned before, you're going to have to drill these holes a little bit larger. For some reason, I'm not getting through. So I'm going to drill it again. Okay, so I drilled it out to 1.1 millimeter, which seems to be the going diameter for this heavier line. So I have plenty of length here, as you can see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie me a knot down close to the end here. I'm going to put some CA glue on it. I can get it. There we go. So I am kind of worried about how much clearance we got. Remember now, the boom is gonna may be over top, in which case that may be an issue. I need fresh CA glue. What I'm worried about is having this line too long. There we go, that's better. Fresh CA glue. If the line is too long, we may be running in, we may not have enough adjustment there for when we put the running rigging through our block. And that can be an issue. We don't want it to be an issue, but it could be. So we'll pull this up, just like so. I'll thread my block onto it here. Now I got to get it through the other hole. That one works fine. So what I'm talking about is when this block is up, it needs to clear something's wrong here. I think I need to turn, I do need to turn it. I need to turn my eye. All right, I'm going to turn the eye. You see what I did there? It should have been crossways. Well, it should be in line with the block, not crossways like it is. And I think I can just turn it. It's just copper. There we go. Strong fingernails, that's all you need. We're back in action here. So yeah. I don't want our block running into the boom because then you don't have any adjustments. You can't take up any slack. So for now, I'm going to leave the other end long. Until I know exactly how long this needs to be, where I can tie the knot on the other side and not tie the knot and not have our block hitting the bottom of the boom. We don't want that. So we're going to leave that there for now. Okay, so we're leaving this the way it is for now. We're going to adjust that when we get the sail hoisted into place. But before we do that, we need to take care of our stays, and that's the forestay and the back stays. So these are 3 lines that attach to the mast and keep it in position. And as you can see here, we have these hooks that goes into the stay plates, which we've already installed on our boat. So there's the hooks. So now we need to make up some stays. So what I'm going to do is I am going to measure it out on the boat how long of a piece I need. We'll make the forestay, and the back stays will be made the same way. So now one thing I will say, make sure that you do this little super glue trick, let it dry, and then use your X-Acto knife on the mat rather than the scissors and trim it off at an angle so that you have the ability to thread this without it fraying and coming apart. So I need a length. It doesn't tell me how long, but the way they want us to do it, we're not going to do it that way. So we're going to do it differently. I think it'll be easier. Yeah, I'm going to do it my way. So we're going to do the forestays. What I did here is I made myself a jig out of clothespins and a piece of basswood, and I put some guides on either side of my clothespins there to keep them from going askew. Meaning, when I say askew, I mean like, you know, something like that. Clothespins are not very accurate. So for this one on this end of I'm going to call it a seizing board for now. I did cut the ends off and angle them so we can get in close to the part. And then for the opposite side, I reversed the spring on it to give us more clamping area and a longer reach there. Kind of helps putting the line in, I think. I think that'll help. So it doesn't take very long, about 15 minutes, and you can have this all glued up and ready to go. And then give it another 20 minutes for the wood glue to dry, and then it's ready to go. So what we have here is our 0.7 millimeter line, and we have our hooks. So these hooks go into the stay plates that are mounted to the boat. So I am just going to fold this up because we're going to seize this end of the line here. And hopefully I can get this to clamp on. I need it too far out or too far in. I need to be further out. There we go. And now we're just going to clip this into our building board here. Well, not really a building board, but our jig, like so. And then we take our line, which is underneath the board, and we'll put that over here. Whoops. About to pull it out there. So I just needed to keep it taut. And I'm using these clips because I don't want to mar the surface there of whatever it is I've got clamped into it. Or on the other end, when you're pinching the line down, you don't really want to you know, make an indentation in the line, depending on what kind of line you got. So I'm going to seize this. Now you've already seen me seize it before when we did our halyard. And we're going to do this again. using our little board here to kind of hold everything for us. So I'm going to seize it here. I'm going to make 3 half hitches, and then we're going to go up above it and make 3 more half hitches. And I'm going to do all 3 of our lines like this. We're going to attach the hooks to them first before we start putting them on the boat. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of this, and we'll look at it when it's done. So there we go. All we got to do is trim it down. So much easier to do when you've got helping hands. And you don't have to chase the part around all over the place. So I have seized that. And it's ready to go on the boat. And yeah, so I got 2 more to make up, and then we'll put them on the boat. Okay, so we got a few things going on here. First of all, we got all 3 of our stays made up, and you can see there we've got them cinched for our hooks, and we've got them hooked into the plates that they go in. Now for the forestay, we travel from our bow transom all the way up to the cleat, and that's our forestay cleat that it goes around. Now we'll have to pull the line around the front of the mast there and cinch that up. The other stays go through the plates at the top of the mast. Now what I did is I went ahead and I put these all of our stays in some water, and then I went ahead and strung them onto the mast and let the water dry. And so for weights, I just use clothespins because they're very light. They don't put a lot of, force on our mast. And the reason why I did it this way was to allow the water to try to take out some of the little bends that was in our stays from it being wrapped up on that plastic card. Where's it at? There it is. With it being wound up on that, you get those little corners, and I didn't really like that. So I'm hoping that will straighten most of it out. So now that we've got that, we need to seize all of these lines. And I'm going to start with our the forestay on the mast. Now the instructions tell us to do something totally different. Which I'm obviously not doing. And, well, partly because they wanted us to do this loop off the boat and then slip the forestay back on. And I really didn't see how I was going to be able to do that. But this, I think I can do. Just like that. I'm going to put a little CA glue on it. Now if I mess this up, that's really okay. It's a learning process. There we go. And they gave us so much of this heavy line, this 0.7 millimeter. We could do a whole fleet of prams with it. So I'm leaving my it done got away from me there. There we go. I'm leaving my clothespin on for the moment. I need to get this pulled tight. There we go. All right, now we can take that off. See where we're at. That seems to be really good right there. So, going to get a little tricky here, as everything else is. We just pass our cinching line behind both pieces, come around to the front here. This is actually going easier than I thought it was going to. And we're going to keep cinching making sure I'm behind both. Yep. So you can kind of see what we're up to here. We're just going to pull and keep cinching it up just like that. I'm going to take it down a little bit more, and then we're going to trim the excess off and just finish off that loop right there. Instead of it having two cinch lines on it there, we're going to just do a long one for the forestay. And then we'll go back to doing the two cinches for the backstays. Now with the forestays done, we are going to do the backstays. Did I say stays for the forestay? Well, it's a single stay. Now this one is just going to be a double lashing. I think I'm going to do 3 half hitches. When we do this, the real trick is going to be to get the opposite side to look exactly like this one. I think I got some on there. If I don't, it's going to slip. And we don't want to slip. Slipping's bad. I get another half hitch on. Where's my tweezers? Lucky for us, we're only doing a single mast here. As you can imagine, this gets a little bit complicated. When you're trying to do it around a lot of other rigging. I can get my fingers where I want them. There we go. So that's 2. I'm going to put a second or another hitch underneath that one, cement it, and then about 3 millimeters down, we're going to put another cinch line right there, and then we can trim it off. Okay, so it's time to hang our sail, I guess. Now we still haven't fixed up our traveler yet, but we do have to get this halyard through the top of the mast, like so. There we go. Don't know how this is going to work out for us. I think I need to thread the downhaul in first or second before I figure out where our halyard's supposed to go. Let's see. Hoisting a sail. Take the sail assembly and thread the halyard through the sheave. Pass the downhaul line through the eye at the foot of the mast and tie it off on the cleat so that the boom jaws are at the center of the rubbing piece. Pull the halyard yard until the sail is fully raised. Then wrap the halyard around the cleat on the mast. So everything goes to the cleat. I don't know, but seems to me that cleat's kind of small. All right, got the tape off. You got to kind of figure out which way you're going to go. I am going to go with my halyard to port. No, to starboard. To starboard, and then the downhaul line, we're going to go to port. I don't know how we're supposed to get all of that wrapped around that cleat. We are going to have to haul sail here. Haul sail. All right, that's about where we need to be, I think. Well, if you can see the predicament I'm in, I'm going to have to glue this in to the cleat. Because we still have to have enough room for the halyard to go. And we have to have our downhaul line secured first, because when we pull up here on the gaff, that's going to change our angle of the boom. So I'm going to go ahead and secure this to the cleat. And I got to leave enough room. I can't wrap too many times on the cleat because I got to leave enough room for our halyard to go in there too. Okay, so surprise to no one that our trying to get me some CA glue here and talk at the same time. I'm running into trouble here. Need some fresh CA glue. Anyway, no surprise that the cleats are too small for the size of line that we're actually using here. I'm going to come up underneath it here and kind of glue it in. Try to anyway. It is trying to foil all my efforts. Gotta get one more pass underneath. Like that. There we go. Yeah, these cleats are not conducive to what they want us to do with them. Trying to get some CA glue on it right there so that line won't pop off. So now I'm going to attempt to slip the cleat like we're supposed to. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. If you do, sing out, because I haven't got a clue. We're getting there. There we go. That's the way it's supposed to look. Just like that. All right. As you can see, our cleat is definitely overtaxed here. That's why I'm putting a generous supply of CA glue on it there. So these lines are just going to get coiled up in the bottom here. And we'll put some diluted PVA glue on it to keep them in place. I need to let that dry before I start tugging on it on the other end there. Next thing to attend to is to get our traveler set. I'm going to move our block over. So this was kind of what I was worried about, not knowing the distance here. Block to the boom there. I mean, we know it's got to sit above the tiller. We got to be careful where we put it though, because if it's too close, we'll have to take this traveler line out. I'm kind of holding it there with my fingers. I'm going to get these self-gripping tweezers up underneath there. And that is where the knot needs to be. Probably a little bit shorter wouldn't be bad. So I'm going to tie us a knot. I'm going to have to do that with all tweezers here. Just like so. I'm just going to let it grip on and hold there for a sec. Give me some CA glue. And affix our knot. Cannot let that be slipping out. Now we need to trim it off. Here we are. And we'll just pull it up. There we are again. Okay. So we have another line we're getting ready to put in. Now this one is 15 inches long. It's still the 0.7 millimeter line that we're using. And I do have a knot in the end of it already. This goes in the end of the boom. Right here where that hole's drilled. Supposed to go in the end of the boom. There we go. I think this is called the tack line. And it has to go through our block. I think I called it a tack line. It's a sheet line. Like so. And then we got those little wire loops that are on the bottom of the boom there. Got to go through that one. Now they don't tell us how to pass them through or if it should be left to right, right to left. I would imagine you need a little bit of resistance on it. So I'm going to pass mine starboard to port and starboard to port. If I can get it in. Don't you worry, we'll get her. That's being really stubborn. There we go. Note to self, next time, make loops larger. So we don't tear our boat up, just trying to get it rigged. So I need to pull this tighter. There we go. The fact that it's a little snug is actually working in our favor. Because that's going to keep it from slipping and keep our sail tight. So what we're doing now is we're dealing with our excess line. Now, the downhaul line is the one I've got coiled up down there. They never tell us to cut it off, and I imagine you need extra line. So what I've done is I've used the diluted PVA glue, which we used on our sail, to wet it and to coil it up. I'm also going to use it for the halyard line. We're going to coil it up over top of it, I think. Maybe. Get it to twist just right. I imagine these lines just kind of lay here. Obviously, I'm a messy sailor. It being diluted PVA glue, it should dry clear. And you are going to have to give your line a twist to get it to kind of lay in there. We'll come back and mop up the excess there. They say a little dab will do you, but that's a lot of dabbing. I'm going to use my brush to kind of soak up all the excess there. Probably wouldn't hurt to use a wet brush and try to clean it up some. As you can imagine, you know, you got to have enough of your halyard line at least so that you can let the sail down. That kind of looks okay. So I'm going to do the same thing back here with the sheet line. And that's what it looks like with the sheet line already done. And it's still drying. It's not completely dry yet. So the only thing left to do, I think, is to put our oars that we made up inside the boat. Yeah, there we go. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we've managed to accomplish. And there are good and bad things. First of all, let's go ahead and look at the bad, and that would be the sail. Now, I followed the instructions, and then I tried to modify that a little bit with my little iron, you know, and straighten out those folds that are in the cotton material, and that did not work for me. And the instructions don't tell you to do anything else. They tell you to just stretch out, you know, the sail canvas on your mat, and then put the diluted PVA glue on. And it obviously did not work. So I am not pleased about that. And another thing that I'm not pleased about in the kit is that the instructions on when it comes to rigging this and lashing our sail and all that, it is really pretty vague. So if my rigging is incorrect, well, well, I guess I should have done a lot more research. And then the next thing is going to be the cleats. So those little cleats, I think they're really more a 1/24th scale than 1/12th scale. And this boat is a 1/12th scale kit. The point here is that those cleats are just too small for the rigging that they intend for it to go around. Now, as far as the rigging goes, I think that is in scale, and that really looks right for the boat that we have built. And yeah, I mean, you know, the rigging and the block and everything and the lines that are included in the kit are pretty much in scale. They look right. And as they say, if it looks right, it is right. So I'm going to go with that. And the next problem that we had with the boat, of course, was the nails that they provided. Those brass nails that were horrible. Absolutely horrible. They were misformed and practically unusable. I spent a lot of time trying to use those, and I ended up just stealing those out of a different kit just in order to be able to build the boat. Now, as far as the rest of the kit is concerned, it pretty much went as I would have expected it to go. And we managed to get a nice Norwegian pram. And yeah, I mean, everything else, you know, pretty much fell together as long as you paid really close attention to the instructions there. So, am I happy with the build? Yes and no. Not happy about how the sail turned out, but that is my fault because, well, I already knew that material kind of remembers how it's been folded, especially if it's been folded for a long time. And that is probably the case here. So that's on me. And we can always take it off later and redo that. And but I think I'll probably keep it as such, just as a reminder that you need to not always trust the inspection or the instructions, but trust your intuition. So that's it. This is the second boat in the series. We have one more to go, and we are going to take these lessons learned and hopefully get a much better product in the end there. Special thanks to all my subscribers. It's because of you guys that I keep making these videos, and I hope that you enjoyed this one. And if you're new to the channel and not a subscriber, I hope that I've earned your subscription. And I always love to hear from you guys, so leave me a comment. And don't forget to give a like if you enjoyed the video. And share it with your friends also if you have some boat builders out there that you think they might be able to actually get something from the experiences that I've managed to glean out of this little build here. So I hope everybody stays safe, and I'll see you in the next build.